All right, we will say good day. This transmission has been titled Your ET Neighbors, and it is for the purpose of delivering to you more information that will increase the probability of contact in the years to come by delivering information on different ET groups over a period of time, one or two groups at a time in these transmissions, to familiarize you with who is in the neighborhood, who's been interacting with Earth for quite some time, who will continue to interact with Earth in various ways. So again, it increases your sense of the reality of what's going on around you and give you a better, more grounded awareness of the neighborhood in which you live as a planet. So we will begin this particular delivery by talking about a group of extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional beings that have been referred to generally by many people on your planet that have interacted with them as the Blue Men. Now, these beings, the ones that are interacting with Earth, are fundamentally energy beings. They have the ability to take what appears to be human form, although they will mostly appear as an outline, a silhouette that is a glowing blue form, their features being relatively obscured because their true nature is energy. And in their quote-unquote natural state, you would perceive them as blue floating orbs of light. But you can see them in many cases, when you do encounter them, changing back and forth between the orbs of light and the humanoid silhouette. They will generally appear to be relatively tall, perhaps 7, perhaps 8 feet in your counting. That's just a representation of the amount of energy coming through. Again, it's not that they actually have or possess this physical stature, but it is the way they are interpreted by your reality. It's the way they present themselves in your reality. Now, they come from a civilization that actually exists on 3 different planets in their area of space. Their original planet allowed them to create a civilization where many of the so-called scientists or researchers or explorers found a way to convert themselves and exist as energy beings. However, the majority of the civilization remained physical and went on to colonize 2 other planets as they spread out among the stars. So their civilization exists on 3 different worlds. They are exploring at this time a potential 4th world upon which to expand their civilization. But what we are saying is that their civilization exists in 2 fundamental forms. Truly, solidly physical, just as you are, and the ones that have learned to convert themselves into energy beings, which are the ones that are interacting with your planet at this time. The physical ones are not. But the ones that are interacting with your planet are doing so not only for the purpose of observation and study, as is true of many ET races who are interacting to some degree with Earth, but they also are quite compassionate, quite peaceful, and they have, shall we say, a tendency, when interacting with humans on your planet, to encourage those humans to change from a warlike civilization to a more peaceful civilization. They have even rescued people in wartime situations, removed them from the war. They have healed many people on your planet who were injured in war and from other causes. Because again, they are energy beings, they can vibrate at a frequency that allows a person to match their frequency and allow rapid healing to occur. They will often observe warfare scenarios And they even have the ability for people, sometimes, not always, depending upon their destiny, because the blue men will not interfere with your destinies, your choices, but they have from time to time, when it is appropriate, even removed humans from your planet and taken them to live on a planet where there is nothing but peace. Now, when they choose to do this, it is usually because a person has been gravely injured, perhaps even fatally injured, in some sort of wartime scenario. They have the ability to actually, in certain cases, resurrect these people, resuscitate these people, and allow them to be placed on one of these planets where they can experience a life of peace away from war. So the blue men, as they are called, generally, which doesn't mean there are not females among them, but this is how they present themselves and how they have been labeled by your people, because that's how they seem to appear, as a male silhouette, glowing blue, obscured features, very tall, very energetic, very kind, very compassionate, very peaceful. These beings are continuing to interact with your people from time to time, though they generally remain in the background, because again, they cannot really interfere with anything you have chosen to be your own destiny. But nevertheless, they will appear to those in need from time to time to assist and aid them in either their healing or their removal to another place where they can experience lasting peace. And their energy on your planet gives you a greater opportunity to seek peace for yourselves by matching their frequency. Now, they have restricted themselves to some degree to the different kinds of individuals they may interact with. They may broaden their ability to interact with more of your population as the years progress. You will find in general that they will interact more often than not with the kind of people on your planet you call the indigenous groups, American Indians and so forth, because of their adherence to some of the old ways of relating to nature. Because again, they are very strongly connected to the idea of nature as the blue men. So in letting you know that they exist, you can open your minds, open your hearts, allow your energy to flow more freely, knowing that they are among you, whether you see them or not, and they are helping with their energy to give you more of an opportunity to choose peace and healing for yourselves, so that you may arrive at a time on your planet, or whatever version you shift to, that is more representative of peace and no longer or never has experienced the idea of war, strife, disease, struggle, and pain. So just open up to the idea, the blue men, and see what happens energetically in your lives as you move forward. We will discuss another group during the meditation that will follow the monologue and questions this day of your time. But for now, we invite you to open up, to engage us with your questions, and allow us to be of continued service to you.
Hey, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
So nice to speak to you.
And you as well.
So I'd like to do a little bit of sharing, if that's okay.
Yes, yes.
So a few weeks ago, I got one of my wisdom teeth extracted, and then I got very ill, got taken to the hospital, and then got a surprise diagnosis of having AML leukemia, which is a very dangerous, very rapidly evolving type of blood cancer.
Yes.
And I decided not to go the typical route, which would be chemo. Instead, I decided to go home and do a detox.
All right.
And so I'm 2 weeks in, and so far it's going extremely well. And I just wanted to talk to you about that, if you had anything to add to that.
You understand that we cannot discuss health issues?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So all we can say is that you had the wisdom to create a synchronicity that would reveal to you something that you needed to pay attention to.
Right. Right. And yeah, and so I'm not necessarily asking for advice at all. I just thought if there's anything else there, because I feel like this is a pretty big life event for me.
It is.
And
And it depends on what you do with it. It depends on what you learn about yourself through this process and this experience, which is why most people create these kinds of experiences for themselves. You can ask yourself the question, what is it focusing me on that otherwise I may not have focused on? That's usually what the important issue is in why this has been created by you as a process or an experience.
yeah.
First and foremost, again, as I said, the synchronicity of the wisdom tooth leading you to this particular awareness. So you can start your synchronistic symbols there, but again, explore the idea, and you will know more about this as you go through the process of what it is getting you to focus on that you might otherwise not have focused on had you not created this. Not that you necessarily need it, but obviously at one point you believed you did, because this is what you felt you needed to bring your attention to something that will be very important for you to pay attention to within your life, about the kind of choices you're making and the kind of changes that you prefer to make in your life. And you have to know this will help you make them more easily if you learn the lessons and pay attention to what it is you are being forced to focus on by having this experience in your life.
Right. And
So that is what we will say.
yeah, and so I find it so interesting because I actually find this whole situation pretty exciting.
All right. That is a good state of being to stay in so that you can experience the information and the lessons you need to learn in a positive way.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's really come out for me is that one thing that I'm most excited about is that I feel like through this journey, I can also show people that there's alternatives.
Yes.
And not in any way to diss medicine at all. I mean, I think medicine...
No. Again, it's whatever the path of least resistance is for those who have certain belief systems. That's what works.
Right. And so I find this to be a much more joyful, much more effortless path in a way that doesn't contain suffering in the way that chemo does.
All right. Again, if things change for you, go with the flow. Go with the path of least resistance, as synchronicity not only brings you objects, situations, circumstances, opportunities, and symbols to move and guide you forward, but sometimes also, as synchronicity will, prevent you from moving down certain paths, again, as a guiding mechanism that's not necessarily your path of least resistance at this moment.
Right. That makes sense. So we'll just see how it goes, because right now I'm on day 11, I think.
Oh, all right.
So, which is also synchronistic, I guess.
All right. Well, thank you for your willingness to experience your power strongly enough to go through this process and learn what it is you need to learn for your expansion and your growth.
Yeah, and it's also interesting because I felt like when I was in the hospital and the doctors would talk to me, and there was very much a sense of urgency that I needed to start chemo right away, and it was dangerous, and like every day I waited, it was going to be more dangerous.
Yes.
And I never felt scared.
All right.
You know, and I think many people in my situation would be scared of dying or other
Many people might, yes.
And so I felt that the whole time I was able to remain in this place of calmness and realize that is like a valid path to choose, of course, but like it was never my path, and I never felt like I needed to go down that path.
All right. Again, just pay attention to your synchronicities to guide you as to exactly how the path needs to flow.
Right.
As long as you are not ruling anything out, you will be open to receiving from synchronicity the appropriate path for you at any given moment.
Right. And so, do you have any comments? Because I hadn't thought about that. It was my wisdom tooth extraction that kind of brought, not that it caused it, but it like brought this whole situation to the surface.
Yes, that's what I already addressed. You were wise enough, enough to use that as a symbol to move you into the situation and circumstance you needed in order to receive this information.
Right. Right. Okay.
What else does it need to represent?
Mm-hmm.
Is that not a sufficient symbol?
No, it's great. It's great.
All right. then there's nothing else that needs to be said about it. You don't have to overthink it or overcomplicate it.
Right. Okay, may I ask you some other questions, unrelated?
Well, that was a question, so what other questions do you have?
So I was always wondering, with your civilization, your planet is Essassani, right?
Yes.
And so do you ever consider living on more than one planet, or how come you only stay on the one when you have the technology to...
I never said we only stay on the one.
Okay.
That's an assumption on your part.
Okay, that's valid. Yeah. So then that is your home world, but then you also
Yes.
have colonized other worlds.
Yes.
Okay. And so is Essassani the most populous world, or are other ones more populous?
It depends upon the environment. It depends upon the purpose of settling on a particular planet as to what drives the needs of the population there. Our home world usually never exceeds somewhere in the neighborhood of about 300 million.
Yeah.
It is an average that in general is maintained on the colony worlds, but there can be more or less, again, depending upon the nature of the planet and the purpose for why we might be there.
Right. And when you meet other civilizations,
Yes.
do most of them communicate with you telepathically, or do you also...
A lot of them do, but some of them do not.
Okay. And so then how do you communicate with those other races? Is it like via technology, or...
Well, first of all, remember that we usually make contact with planets in the same way we're making contact with yours. We have a connection to an individual through whom we may channel information, which then automatically comes out in their language, of course, because we're not speaking English right now.
Right.
So the idea is that we communicate that way, but doesn't mean we don't have the capacity to learn someone's language.
Right. Right. And so in your alliance of worlds,
Yes.
is everybody there telepathic, or it's the same thing where some races are and some races are not, and they communicate via other means?
Some races are and some races are not.
Okay. And so could you give a couple examples of the races that are not telepathic, how they communicate? Is it verbal? Is it via, like...
Some will communicate verbally in their own language as you would understand it. Some communicate by vibration. Some communicate by color shifts and changes. There are even those that communicate through what you might call electromagnetic waves.
Yeah. Yeah. Super interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. And so do you ever colonize planets together with other races, or is it...
We have done so sometimes for various purposes, but it's not necessarily that common.
Yeah. And so if distance isn't really a thing at all, then the planets that you colonize, they can be anywhere in the universe, right? It doesn't matter like which galaxy they're in, because space and time...
Fundamentally, no, it does not matter. But it will be based on certain other parameters that we don't necessarily go into right now.
Right.
But there may be certain reasons for why we may maintain a particular connection to something that isn't necessarily that far away, as you would say, in your sense of distance.
Yeah.
It just depends.
Yeah.
But no, distance in that sense is not really an issue.
Yeah. Yeah, super interesting. Does your Alliance of Worlds have any kind of rules as to colonizing planets, and like how many you can colonize or where they are, or is...
Well, guidance perhaps that best serves. But the idea is, of course, there is always the non-interference directive of making sure that we don't interfere with civilizations that already exist in a way that would be detrimental to them. We only colonize worlds, as you use that term, that don't necessarily have habitation on them. So the idea is there are guidelines and so on and so forth, but not anything you would really call a hard and fast rule in the way that humans tend to think of those things.
Right.
Because again, remember, we operate on pure synchronism.
Yeah.
So the idea is that we synchronistically wind up exactly where we need to be, doing exactly what we need to do that serves the best of all concerned.
Right. And so for your race, because you're transitioning to quasi-physical, is there any need...
No, we are quasi-physical, we're transitioning to non-physical.
Right, sorry, apologies.
No apology necessary.
So do you have any need at all to exercise in any way, or like move your body in any certain way, or like mental?
Well, we do move our bodies, but we don't really have a need to exercise in the way that you think of it. No. Remember, we also no longer eat and no longer sleep.
Right. Are there any kind of mental trainings that you do, or like any type of training at all?
Well, I went through a training period to learn to become a first contact specialist, so yes, it depends on what you're doing.
Right. Right. That makes sense.
I know, that's why I said it.
Yeah. No, I think that was it for sure. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right, we thank you for the interaction. Good day.
Good day. Thank you.
Shar,
And to you, good day.
really excited to be here. Excited to talk to you
As are we.
about the flash matrix that you shared with us before.
Yes, what about it?
First question is that the spirals, should we have the spirals 55 in one direction and 34 in another, like the sunflower pattern? Or
It would be wise to copy from nature, yes.
yes, great. Second question about the flash matrix, does the end of each spiral touch the crystal at the center and at the periphery of the hemispheres, or is there a small distance in between them?
Generally, there is a small gap.
Okay, and is there a measurement to that gap that we should be aware of?
It will depend upon the scale of what you are creating, of course. But the idea is it should be in proportion. In proportion, the same kind of gap as exists between the synapses of your brain,
Oh, wow, interesting.
but in proportion to the scale.
Okay, yeah, we could figure that out. Thank you. Last question on the flash matrix. Is 2 millimeter acrylic a good insulator for the spirals?
Perhaps I would suggest you go to 3.
3. Okay, because they are interwoven, the spirals.
We understand.
Yes, okay. 3 millimeters. Awesome, thank you. Your perspective, what would you say the purpose of the government is?
A government or the government?
A government.
Well, again, like in our system, we have those that amplify guidance, amplify synchronicity, allow there to be a kind of a vibrational pattern set up of energy that serves the best of all concerns so that our experience of synchronism can continue along the path of least resistance for all individuals contained within that particular society or system. So it's more of an amplification and guidance system by individuals who are willing to serve in that capacity.
Right. So it sounds like that can be translated in our reality in a very similar way as almost an education system that is sharing with people the nature of reality.
It's certainly closer to the educational idea, yes.
Right. And making sure everyone has, in a sense, what they need,
Yes.
at least as basic needs, in order to thrive.
Yes.
Okay, really like that. And I'm not sure if you can comment too much on this, but our Constitution, is there anything that if you scan our Constitution that you would see would be a great either addition or transformation that you would see as beneficial to us?
Well, certainly the idea of not being in a position where you need to explain the obvious. In other words, you have many different changes and addendums and alterations and things that you bring about in your laws, including in your Constitution, because you feel that individuals don't understand with enough clarity the basic ideas that are there to begin with in general. In other words, you have said that certain ideas ought to be self-evident, but apparently to many of the people on your planet they're not. And therefore you have to augment them all the time with all sorts of other laws and rules to make sure that people understand the original intent. So a educational simplification that expands and contains and covers all such scenarios would be perhaps of clarification and benefit to you. For example, if the idea is that you fundamentally understand that on a basic level, all individuals should be treated equally with equal respect, then why do you need to add that it must happen for this group and that group and this group and that group, should the original idea not extend to all groups.
Right, because in a sense that could even create more separation and
Yes, exactly. Because you feel the need to have to include something that should have already been included in the basic concept to begin with.
Yeah, kind of like a double standard in a sense.
Yes.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have gotten the intuition that there is a crystal skull connected to or underneath the Hill of Tara in Ireland.
You're close.
Okay, because the second one, it was as if these two were in my mind, was Newgrange.
We're not going to give you much information on this except to say that it's important that you follow your instincts.
Okay. Because what my instinct also said is Newgrange is very connected to the Sirius vibration.
No comment necessary from us at this time.
Okay, thank you.
You are in mid-process, we cannot intervene.
Yes, I see that. And I was going to ask you, I've asked and received some myself, but I was going to ask you to share a circuit, a symbol for humanity at this time to come into greater balance.
That which might be called in the ancient times the symbol of the migrations or four directions, a circle with an equidistant cross in the center, representing the idea of all the directions, all the races, coming together in unity and expanding therefrom.
Got it. Awesome. Well, thank you. Oh, one more thing. I had a dream with you that was very exciting. You came to me and you said, whether it was you or my higher mind, I'm not entirely sure. You said...
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. And whether it was you or my higher mind, it was saying, there is going to be an invention or something created on your earth very soon that is a type of clothing that will be either renewable or will be more efficient, that will change things very rapidly in unexpected ways in your reality.
Yes, this is a nanotechnological invention.
Okay, and is there a time frame that you see as that being a problem?
No longer than 20 years, but we cannot pinpoint it at this time.
Okay, and what are the effects that may ripple out?
Well, the idea is the versatility of the nanotechnological fabrics that can perform many different kinds of functions in different kinds of environments, and therefore can allow people to become more adaptable to different environments and allow them to thrive in those environments because of the adaptability of the suit that they are wearing.
Right. All right, that's all I got. Thank you so much, Bashar. I appreciate
We thank you for the interaction. Good day to you.
Likewise.
ETs contacted the Mayans, and can you tell what information did they share with the Mayans?
This is a misunderstanding. It's not that, even though there were other ET races that were in contact with the Maya civilization, it's not that there were basically the idea of extraterrestrials contacting the Maya. The Maya are the descendants of extraterrestrials. That particular humanoid species came to Earth, established colonies, built many of the structures that you understand that exist in those regions on your planet. But in that sense, it is the Maya themselves that built those things. It's just that the descendants now, while they have the memory of their connection to those ancient ancestors, those ancient extraterrestrial ancestors that came to Earth, it's simply that some of them chose to remain on Earth when the majority of the Maya left. So the idea is that the Maya that exist today are the actual descendants of an extraterrestrial race. So it's not so much that the extraterrestrials came and visited the Maya and helped them with those structures. The Maya themselves, in their early form, actually built those structures because they are actually extraterrestrials who came to Earth.
And yet, didn't they express themselves as a more primitive civilization, in a sense, in terms of the structures they created? And they all have that idea of like the pyramids in Tikal, this pyramidal structure that seemed to be prevalent throughout the planet.
Yes. The ones for the Maya were built by the Maya. It's just that, again, remember, after the majority of the Maya extraterrestrials left, which actually are called the Mayab, the idea of the remnants that stayed, the few that stayed, created the Maya civilization as you know it, but it also devolved because they were no longer experiencing the level of technology that the original Mayab had, and also because of different things that have gone on your planet, certain destructions, certain environmental issues, encounters with individuals that conquered the civilization has allowed them to forget much of their ability that they originally had. But when those structures were originally created, they were created by the Maya when they were at their peak, before they left.
Did those ET civilizations practice human sacrifice or sacrifices and things like that, or that's all later developments?
That's
by
much
humans?
much later in the devolution. Relaxed and let go of the cares of the day so that we may guide you now in a meditation to expand the probabilities of contact by introducing you to another situation in your neighborhood. Now, allow yourselves, with whatever images you produce and whatever music you produce, to simply let go, relax. Deep breathing will accompany this idea, and just open up to sensing the vibrations of the neighborhood. And we will take you in this meditation as you feel yourself letting go and relaxing, letting in those things we will share with you, to a space above your planet, between the orbit of the Earth and the orbit of the Moon, about 100,000, 150,000 miles above the Earth. There is a very large, multi-level, saucer-shaped station that stays there and has been there for quite some time, and will continue to be there for quite some time. This very large spaceship, space station, contains many different groups of extraterrestrial beings working together or using it as a way station to help them in their observations and studies of Earth. And so we want to let you know of the existence of this craft that contains many levels and many chambers in which many different ET races coexist, come and go, as a port, as a station, to aid and assist them in their endeavors, while they all keep watch upon Earth, observing whatever they observe with their own agendas, taking that information and sharing it. Sometimes humans have been taken to this station. So what we are suggesting that you do right now in this meditation, as you relax even further, is to allow yourself to imagine that you are being lifted off the Earth in any way, shape, or form you prefer to, either with just your body on a beam of light or in a spacecraft, doesn't matter, and allow yourself to rise above the Earth until the Earth appears to be about the size of a soccer ball. And then see before you this giant circular silver saucer with its multi-levels gleaming in the sunlight, hanging, floating in space. And allow yourself to see that you are entering one of the chambers, arrival chambers, and disembarking into this station. And imagine yourselves walking through the different sections, through the different levels, going up, going down, on different tubular access vehicles that you would call elevator tubes, but with no particular enclosure, just rising or going down through these transparent tubes to the different levels, or walking around on the different decks in the different chambers, some of which may include spaces in which to eat, spaces in which to sleep for those that require those things, some of which are scientific laboratories, educational facilities, control centers, which allow you a view of Earth, monitors that may contain views of other planets to which many of these beings belong. And it doesn't matter at this point whether you are accurate in your depiction of the many beings that are walking around on the deck near you, passing by you, going about their business. Imagine whatever forms of aliens you wish, both humanoid and not. It doesn't matter right now. This will become more specific at a later time. But right now, we are simply encouraging you in this meditation to focus on the idea of how it feels to be on such a craft, on such a station that exists above your Earth, with all of these different beings going about their business, some of them acknowledging you, some of them simply passing by, allowing you to feel, to know that this is going on in your neighborhood, that this way station exists in your neighborhood for a variety of purposes, and that it will still continue to exist in this place as you yourselves begin to develop more ability, more awareness, and more efficacy at creating your own spacecraft that use universal powers and universal laws, so that one day in your own craft you may dock with this station and come aboard as a species and partake of the various races and interact with the various beings that also utilize this United Nations or United Planets craft, if you wish to look at it that way, where different beings are welcome to go about their business and interact, so that you simply know that these beings are in your neighborhood. Allow yourself the opportunity now to just explore, pick up on whatever you're going to pick up on, see whatever it is your imagination allows you to see, learn whatever it is your imagination allows you to learn about what is going on in the various endeavors that these beings may be undertaking. Just explore. Just feel the energy of exploration, of observation, of study, of learning, of knowledge, of wisdom, and expand that to the cosmos. For in this craft is a vast library of information and knowledge of the cosmos. Not only your neighborhood, but well beyond into other neighborhoods, and even into other star systems and other galaxies. Allow yourself to know that this exists. The greatest library in your neighborhood is 100,000 miles above your planet, and you can access this anytime you wish in your imagination. Let synchronicity and the higher mind be your guides on this journey. And anytime you think of this and extend your consciousness to this station, to this meeting point, to this melting pot, to this beautiful silver shining craft with its multiple layers and multiple chambers, with all of these beings going about their business of learning and expanding themselves and their knowledge of existence by observing all of you as well. Allow yourself to participate and become part of this unity. Allow yourself to feel that you can belong to this alliance. Allow yourself to simply feel the expansion of knowledge and awareness that is going on, that is contained in this craft. Immerse yourself in it. Revel in it. Wallow in it. And absorb it. In whatever way, shape, or form is comfortable for you. And feel not only the individualness, the diversity, the incredible diversity of all of the beautiful differences of all the individuals and representatives of their own races and planets and stars and galaxies, but also the unity and the harmony within this craft, and the beauty of the orchestration of synchronicity that exists within its walls, floating beautifully in space. Allow yourself now to simply return to Earth, knowing that this is there for you anytime you wish to visit it in your imagination, or out of body in your astral form, it is there for you to participate in, to feel that you belong to, and to enjoy. Because it is part of your neighborhood and will be here for you for many, many years to come. Allow yourself now to simply relax back into your environment of Earth and now be able to see more clearly both perspectives of not only living on the surface of your world, but also seeing your world from that vantage point of that station, through the eyes of all of those races as they gaze upon you, as they observe you, as they learn from you, and expand their knowledge of the cosmos through you. See yourself in both places simultaneously, because you are. For many of you may have counterparts on that station, observing their counterparts on the surface of the earth. Feel the lines of connection and energy that anchor them to the earth and you to them. And allow yourself to walk upon the earth in your path with renewed understanding and feelings of connection that you belong to a vast neighborhood of many different kinds of diverse individuals who are all sharing similar purposes of expanding their awareness and their knowledge, and that you can participate in this expansion as well. Breathe it in and crystallize this relationship with you and them, and allow yourself to participate and feel the participation more and more every day from two different vantage points as you become more aware of more of yourself. Allow yourself to breathe gently and easily now. And in both locations, we extend to you our unconditional love and our welcome to your home. Welcome home. Welcome to the neighborhood. Welcome to the awareness of what is going on more and more around you that may have been heretofore invisible, but is becoming more visible every day. And we will help, along with others, guide you into more recognition and more awareness of the different beings and the different races that are interacting in your neighborhood with you, so that you can feel more connected to the galactic family to which you actually belong, and more aware and capable of expanding yourself to see from those more lofty perspectives, as well as from the earth, and as well as feeling and experiencing yourself as an extension of nature, not only of the earth, but of many different worlds and of the cosmos itself. Welcome home. Welcome home. Our unconditional love and support to you all, and we bid you an exciting day of exploration, self-discovery, and play, and remind you all once again that the first step toward true enlightenment is to always lighten up on yourselves. Don't judge yourselves negatively. You don't deserve it. Don't take things too seriously. Relax and go with the flow, because your flow knows exactly where you need.